Good evening, YouTube. It is 9 p.m. in the great state of Texas, and it's starting to warm up a little bit. It's 83 degrees, and we are making another bowl on the channel. So, great thing about it warming up in the state of Texas, we could get back to maybe working with epoxy here in the next couple of weeks. But for now, we got all these cool wood blanks, and we're going to turn them into bowls until we run out of them. So, working with a piece, I think this is either cherry or mahogany. I'm pretty sure it's mahogany. We've done mahogany bowls before on the channel in the past, and usually they go really well. But in today's video, we are going to have a catastrophic failure, just like we usually do with most of our projects. I feel like every time I do one of these, something goes wrong. And even though everything's going pretty smooth right now, getting our nice cylindrical shape, getting some shavings off, you can see just the mess that it's making over here. We're going to have a little bit of an issue, but nothing that we can't fix. So get everything nice and cylindrical, and we're going to make our mortise. Already working in the wood, you can tell that it's probably not as dry as it needs to be. You can just tell by the dust and everything that's kind of coming off of it a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of issue, but I didn't think anything of it when I was doing this. Everything was going relatively smooth, and I was thinking, you know what, I've done this plenty of times. We're not going to have any issues. So once we get everything into a nice cylindrical shape, we build our mortise, then we start our parting portion of it, where we're going to build a lid, and then we're going to have like the main body like we usually do. And this has become a little bit easier, but we get this taken off, boom, there's that, and then this portion right here will be the lid. And here in just a little bit, when we start the gouging, that's where I'm going to have a little bit of my issue. So we get everything flipped over, and we just get everything nice and flat, taking the square carbide and just making everything symmetrical. So then we start the gouging portion of it. And the bad thing about doing these projects where you make a lid is you don't have a lot of material to work with initially. And I've done this plenty of times, and I don't know what it was about today. When I was doing this project, it just got away from me. So I'm gouging, I'm getting to a nice depth, working the edges off, and not having any issues. I'm thinking, okay, this is just like any other project. Everything's going smooth. And then for some reason, I start and stop the lathe, and I'm thinking I can get a little bit further in, make it a little bit deeper, and then end up punching through. And I've never had that issue before, which is crazy. I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know if it getting a little hotter in the workshop just made me a little delirious, but I was like, son of a biscuit. So I had to deal with that. So we ended up getting to a nice depth that we wanted to, and then I decided, you know what, we got to go and fix our problems here. So I decided, okay, I can't have a bowl with a hole in it, so I might as well make the lid anyway, because that's what we have to do. So I end up making the bowl a lid, and this part's going smooth, but again, my fear is I'm going to punch through, so I'm not overly aggressive. And then I'm just kind of frustrated, and then this piece of pine, I initially just wanted to take it off completely, and really didn't think about that. But I thought, okay, I have this cylindrical problem or spherical problem, and I need to plug that with something. So I'm like, hey, what better thing to do than just to go ahead and use this pine as kind of like a fill-in for this giant hole, and nobody will even know it's there once I kind of glue it together. So that's what I ended up doing here. I end up shaving off a piece and then just taking off the rest, and we'll see the assembly here in just a little bit. So with this, I knew the wood was a little damp. I could just tell by just looking at the grain of the wood, it just was not feeling right on the chisels, even though everything was going smooth other than just punching through the mortise. But we ended up sanding 50 grit or 80 grit to 120 to 180, and you can see here just kind of what this looks like. I'm just like, this has never happened before, but I guess it was inevitable after doing this for 7 years. I guess it happening once every now and then is not too bad. So with our typical accent piece here, we're just gonna build a little bit of a gouge here on the top of the bowl that will fill with epoxy a little bit later. But again, I was worried about punching all the way through. So shining everything up, just doing our typical Yorkshire grit, and then we'll end up hitting it with a little bit of wood wax. But man, this wood looks really awesome. In spite of it being, not going exactly the way that we wanted it to, the wood grain looks beautiful. So just finishing up here, and the shine looks really, really cool. So overall, really happy how it looks. And at the end, it's not going to look so bad. So even though we had problems, we ended up working through them, and the bowl came out looking okay. It's just sometimes things don't go your way. But here we are. Initially, I just tried to fill this in. Granted, I should have not have taken off as much material, and there I am just pouring a copious amount of super glue in it. I actually had to come back and hit it with 15-minute epoxy because the gap was just too big. But it's not a pretty bowl on the inside, but it's good enough for what I wanted it to be, I guess. And there's my 15-minute epoxy, and then I'm just trying to swirl that around to where we have something to kind of show for it. But it will work, I guess. It'll hold stuff. It's just not going to look as pretty as if we didn't mess it up initially. But just super glue will fix a lot of your problems. And then we're going to finish it off with our little accent piece here. I had this cool gold glitter that looks really good with this wood grain. I thought this was a nice accent piece. And I do have another piece of this wood, and I'm going to come back and try this again and try not to screw it up so bad. But, things don't go your way sometimes, but you just got to work through your problems. That's just woodworking in general. Nothing's perfect. But it looks really cool. I think it came out looking okay. So in the end, that glitter piece in the middle looks good. The grain of the wood looks good. It's just when you open it up, it's not as pretty as you'll see here. And I'm like, ugh, doesn't look too good. But hey, mistakes happen. So hope you liked it. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.